Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ and in this video we are going to kind of look at a famous filmmaker and his latest film and kind of figure out what are we going to do with him? What's going on? What is the state of this artist? Yes, we are talking about Ridley Scott's new movie,
Gladiator.
You cannot be a modern film fan and not thank Ridley Scott for what he's done. If it was Alien, the original Gladiator, so many of his countless amazing works have stuck with us for a very long time, but also there is a collection of Ridley Scott films that most people would rather choose to ignore. So we're in a weird state with this artist of like, okay, you were once the best, and sometimes you could be one of the worst. Where are we at with Gladiator II? Well, this movie is kind of an encapsulation of both the best and the worst of Ridley Scott. So that's what we're going to look at for this video. Some of the highlights of the film and some of the lowlights, because this movie does work. And when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't, it is painfully dull. I found myself just clinging to any kind of great moment, and then they're fleeting. Like, it just felt like this movie, it's long, it wants to be long, it wants to live in this universe, but none of the moments really sit with you. None of them have that grandiose spectacle feel, especially like the infamous scene now with the sharks in the Colosseum. That is done in like 4 seconds, it feels like, and it doesn't have the oh my god factor you would expect from sharks in the Colosseum. Like, this movie just it just feels lackluster. It feels like it was a studio mandated thing that they're like, Ridley, you gotta come back and finally do that Gladiator movie. And he's like, oh yeah, I guess I kind of did set it up with Lucius and Maximus and all that. Yeah, I guess I have something. They threw together the most bland, generic script that they could have, and they went with it. Thankfully, there's good actors, and when the action scenes are good, they're good, so that helps carry it. But overall, it just feels like Ridley Scott just is going through the motions with these movies. I don't feel like he's having that iconic status he once had, but again, he's a legend, he's an icon, he's still making these movies at his old age, and he is still like just slaying these big productions. I'm looking at these big kind of epic war scenes and I'm like, wow, that's a crazy day on set. And then he has like 7 cameras running, he's doing all this madness. All of that is very impressive from a behind the scenes technical aspect, but on the screen it feels like these movies are just missing that extra oomph. When I'm kicking off the conversation of the good, I want to focus on the actors, not particularly the characters, because I don't really love the characters, but I actually like the actors. I do think Paul Mescal is a bit out of his weight class here. It definitely feels like his first time being in a movie of this grand of scale. He's still doing so much indie, some small acting, just bringing you in and like, ooh, I'm enticed by this scene. And then when I need him to be, the action hero that he should be in this movie, that's a bit lacking. But overall, Paul Mescal definitely understands the assignment. He has good humor, he has good heart, he looks amazing on screen. I think with a couple more of these blockbusters under his belt, Paul Mescal is definitely going to be a force to be reckoned with. But for the most part, I do think there is people like Denzel Washington and Pedro Pascal that are just eating and chewing and doing the absolute most. These men know what to do with Ridley Scott's work, with his universe, with the tone of this project, particularly Denzel Washington. I don't know if I would nominate anything from this movie for an Academy Award or for the Critics' Choice that I'm a part of, but I would say Denzel deserves a round of applause for like keeping this movie alive. Every time he is on set, you're just like, ooh, I like this. Ooh, give me more. He's having fun. He's chewing up the scenery, but he feels like a classic villain in a Ridley Scott movie. He feels like what we would come to know, what we would want to expect from this. And I'm just so happy he's here and he's able to do this and able to bless this movie. And I think Pedro Pascal is fine in his performance, but again goes to the characters that we'll talk about in the bad section that I just feel are so bland, so underwritten, so just kind of paint by numbers. That's what this whole movie definitely has, is a paint by numbers generic action vibe. But those action scenes, I cannot deny, some of them are epic. The beginning of this film that kind of kicks off all of the story for Lucius's character, and you're like, oh, ooh, and it's stunty, it's big, it's explosive, it's great. Some of the stuff in the Colosseum, I actually like this one fight before we get to the Colosseum, when we're kind of just trying to pick our fighters to go and be the gladiators. There's a smaller fight there that's great. There's some training moments with Paul Mescal's character that they build towards it. Those are all amazing. Some of the stuff in the Colosseum is great though. Like, I don't like the shark one. I guess I had bigger anticipation for that. But there's that first one with the rhino, and it's it's big and you feel it, and it's great. You also have the one in the practice run has the really bad CGI monkeys. Ad Astra level bad monkeys there. Don't want to go back to that. Don't want to think about them. The animals in this movie basically are the weak spot. But yeah, that one rhino fight is okay, but then there's the end. There's this end kind of battle that carries from the Colosseum to outside of it in epic, ending in this kind of epic just face off between two characters. That's where I'm like, the drama, the emotion is carried throughout and you feel it and you're like, I'm able to travel with these characters and get emotionally attached. That's the problem. A lot of the action scenes, I'm not emotionally engaged. That's something so the first Gladiator is a movie I don't really hold this as precious gem. It's a great movie. I'm not going to deny that, but it's not one of my personal favorites. But wow, do I appreciate what that movie does with its heart and soul and making you feel it. There is an expression in the movie Ichi the Killer, which I absolutely love, where they're saying that there's no love in your violence. There's no love in this violence. It just feels like the action scenes are just there to put them there, but my goodness, when they work, they really are a spectacle. They make you feel like you're there in the battle. That's all I could ask for in a movie like this. When I'm taking off the negatives, I'm thinking through a lot. I'm thinking about how generic the script is, how paint by numbers, how tropey. My goodness, if you're a woman in this movie, your goal is basically to just exist to advance a male storyline. I'm not going to get into that too much, but it's definitely like, oh, that's lovely treatment of our women characters. Anyways, moving on, because the movie definitely tries to move on. All together, though, these characters kind of suck. Lucius is the most, tropey, kind of overwrought way of telling the story. We've seen his story done a bazillion times over, and it's kind of generic. And I go to the villains as well. Joseph Quinn and Fred Heinricher, I don't know his last name exactly. They are, trying to be campy, but they're written so poorly. They're just there to advance who the real villain is. And you're like, okay, cool. What was the point of these two characters then? I know we need emperor characters for this kind of gladiator setting, but give me more with them. They are so boring. They're so... Oh my goodness. Boring is kind of something I feel through a lot of these kind of character moments. If it's not Denzel Washington in a scene with another person, it's boring. Pedro Pascal and Connie Nielsen stuff, so incredibly dull. Every time we cut away to Nielsen's little beautiful area, I'm like, I don't want to be here. This is not what I signed up for. Even in a moment where it's Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal, you're like, oh, okay, boring. I don't know what it is about these character interactions, but Denzel's the only one kind of bringing life to every scene. Every time he enters a scene, every time he's, talking to Lucius about rage, and that's the moment I really was like, ooh, I'm locked in, I'm great, and I'm unlocked. Get me up out of here. I'm just like, what is going on? Why am I not able to connect with this movie? It's just, it's cold, it's distant, and that goes to the look and feel of it too. It's definitely uglier. It's definitely not as polished as you would want a Gladiator movie to be. It's just ugly. It's cold. It's written cold. It's filmed cold. I'm not able to fall in love and engage and want to be here. The whole time I was just like, can this be over? Because I have other things to do. I have other movies I could be watching. It doesn't live with me. It doesn't sit with me. It doesn't make a lasting impression as it should. Should you go see Gladiator 2? Well, if you're a fan of the original Gladiator, I guess give it a try. If you're a Ridley Scott completionist and you need to see everything he's done, definitely watch it. But if you're just casually trying to watch something this weekend, go watch Wicked. Go watch another movie that's been out for a little bit. There's definitely other things to fall in love with. There's definitely other movies that are a bit more engaging, a bit more like a war season. If you're definitely I want to watch all the Oscar movies, I don't think this is going to be there. It may be, the pedigree of Gladiator winning Best Picture before and Ridley Scott, but maybe pedigree's not going to take him that far when this movie is that dull. Yeah, I couldn't really recommend this other than hardcore Ridley Scott or Gladiator people, and even you guys, be prepared. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my video for Gladiator 2. What did you think of this video? What did you think of the movie? Share your thoughts down in the comments below. Subscribe to Flickering Myth because we make videos just like this all the damn time. It's so amazing, and make sure you guys give me a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Alright, let's talk about Ridley Scott's wild career, and let's talk about Gladiator 2 right down below.